Your deployment just failed. Permission denied. But file permissions look fine. The team says, just disable SELinux. Stop. That is the wrong answer. Security Enhanced Linux, or SELinux, is one of the most powerful security controls in the Linux kernel. And once you understand it, those permission-denied errors become your best defense against real attacks. In this masterclass, we will cover what SELinux is and why it matters, how mandatory access control works versus traditional permissions, the architecture from kernel hooks to policy engine, security contexts and type enforcement, modes of operation, the labeling system, common breakage patterns, the SRE Troubleshooting Workflow, containers and Kubernetes integration, and production best practices. SELinux is a Linux security module, or LSM, that adds mandatory access control to the Linux kernel. In plain terms, it makes the kernel ask an extra question before every action, even if normal Linux permissions would allow this. Should this specific process, with this specific security label, be allowed to do this exact action on this exact object? Think of it like a two-factor security check at a building. Regular Linux permissions are the master key. If you have it, you open any door. SELinux adds a badge reader on top. Even with the key, you also need the right badge for that specific room. For site reliability engineers and DevOps teams, SELinux matters because it is a host hardening control, a blast radius reducer when processes get compromised, a compliance enabler for audit frameworks, and a container isolation enhancer that adds kernel-level separation between workloads. The most important mindset shift is this. SELinux does not randomly break healthy services. It surfaces when a service uses a non-default path, port, or label that policy does not recognize. So when someone says SELinux broke my app, the better framing is SELinux detected that the runtime behavior does not match the security policy. Before SELinux, Linux security relied entirely on discretionary access control, or DAC. That means file ownership, read-write-execute permission bits, groups, and access control lists. DAC has a critical weakness. If a process gets compromised, the attacker inherits that process's permissions. If your web server can read secrets, a remote code execution exploit can also read those secrets. Think of it this way. DAC is like giving your house key to a delivery driver. They can open the front door, but once inside, they can go anywhere. The bedroom, the safe, the garage. There is no room-by-room check. Mandatory access control changes this completely. With Mac, even if someone has the key, every single room has its own badge reader. The kernel enforces a system-wide policy that says not just who owns something, but which labeled process can do which specific action on which labeled object. This is what SELinux provides. It reduces the blast radius of any compromise. Let us look at how SELinux fits into the Linux kernel architecture. At the top sits your application or service. Below that are system libraries and system calls. Below that is the kernel's object access paths, the code that handles files, sockets, processes, and IPC. Here is where SELinux enters the picture. The Linux Security Modules framework inserts security hooks into critical kernel paths. These hooks intercept operations before the kernel allows them. SELinux registers as a major LSM and evaluates every intercepted operation against its loaded policy. Think of LSM hooks as security checkpoints inside the kernel. Every time a process tries to open a file, bind a socket, send a signal, or create a new process, the checkpoint fires. SELinux receives the subject context, the object context, the object class, and the requested permission, then consults the policy. To keep this fast, SELinux uses the Access Vector Cache, or AVC. The first time a specific access pattern is evaluated, the result is cached. Future identical requests hit the cache instead of re-evaluating the full policy. This is why SELinux overhead in production is usually negligible. When access is denied, the kernel returns a permission error and logs an AVC denial to the audit subsystem. That denial message is your primary debugging signal. Every object in an SELinux system carries a security label called a context. A context has 4 fields: user, role, type, and level. For example, a web server process might carry the label system_u, system_r, httpd_t, s0. In daily operations, the type field is what matters most. This is because SELinux's primary policy model is type enforcement. Processes have domain types like httpd_t or sshd_t. Files and directories have object types like httpd syscontent_t. Policy rules define which domain types can perform which actions on which object types. Think of it like a city with color-coded zones. Red trucks can only deliver to red zones. Blue trucks only to blue zones. The labels on the trucks and zones determine who can go where, not the driver's personal identity. Here is a concrete example. When Apache tries to read a web page, SELinux checks, does policy allow httpd_t to read files of type httpd syscontent_t? If yes, access proceeds. If the file is labeled default_t instead, because it was placed in a custom directory, SELinux denies the read even though Unix permissions would allow it. This is the most common source of breakage. Fixing the label fixes the problem. SELinux operates in 3 modes. Enforcing mode is the production standard. Policy is actively enforced. Denials block actions and are logged. This is where SELinux provides actual security. Permissive mode is the safe debugging mode. The kernel logs denials exactly as it would in enforcing mode, but does not actually block anything. This lets you discover every policy violation without causing outages. Disabled mode means SELinux is completely off. Policy is not loaded, and persistent objects may lose their labels. This is strongly discouraged. The golden SRE pattern is simple. Start in permissive. Inspect all AVC denials. Fix labels, set Booleans, add port mappings. Then switch to enforcing. Think of it like a new traffic camera. First you run it in observation mode, logging violations but not issuing tickets. You fix the confusing signs and markings. Then you turn on enforcement. SELinux is label-driven. If the labels are wrong, behavior is wrong. Labels are the single most important operational concept. File labels are stored as extended attributes on the file system. You can view them with the -c flag on commands like ls or ps. When you need to fix a file label permanently, the correct workflow uses 2 steps. First, SELinux context to define the mapping rule, telling SELinux what label a path pattern should have. Second, restore con to apply that mapping to the actual files. This combination survives reboots and relabels. A common mistake is using chcon, which changes the label directly but does not persist. The next relabel or package update will revert it, and your outage returns. Port labeling is equally important. If you move a web server from port 80 to a custom port, SELinux needs to know. Without that port mapping, the service cannot bind. Booleans are policy toggles for common use cases. For example, if your web server needs to serve content from NFS, there is a Boolean for that. Booleans are safer than writing custom policy because they enable pre-tested, distribution-supported behavior. Think of Booleans as feature flags for security policy. You toggle them on or off depending on your deployment needs. The underlying policy rules already exist. You just activate them. Let us address the elephant in the room. Why does SELinux seem to break things? The honest answer is, it does not break random things equally. In default configurations, Breakage should be rare. The breakage happens when teams deviate from defaults without updating labels. Here are the 5 most common patterns. Pattern 1. Wrong file label. This is the #1 cause. You move content to a custom directory. The new path inherits a generic label. The service domain cannot access it. Permission denied. Pattern 2. Wrong port label. You change a service to a non-standard port. That port is not labeled for your service type. The bind call fails. Pattern 3. Missing Boolean. Your web server serves from NFS. The default policy blocks this unless you enable the correct Boolean. Pattern 4. Temporary fix instead of permanent fix. Someone uses chcon to fix a label, the system relabels, and the outage returns again and again. Pattern 5. SELinux re-enabled after a long disabled period. Objects have no labels or wrong labels. Everything appears broken simultaneously. The important insight is, every one of these patterns has a clean, permanent fix. Wrong labels get cmanage context plus restorecon. Wrong ports get cmanage port. Missing Booleans get setable. The problems are predictable and the solutions are well defined. When a service fails and you suspect SELinux, follow this systematic workflow every single time. Step 1. Check the basics first. Verify normal Linux permissions, check service logs, and confirm the service starts correctly. Step 2. Check SELinux mode. Run git enforce. If it says disabled, SELinux is not your problem. If it says enforcing, continue. Step 3. Search for AVC denials. Use Ozsearch to query the audit log for recent AVC and SELinux error messages. This is your primary evidence. Step 4. Inspect security contexts. Use PS with -ez to see process labels. Use ls with -lz to see file labels. Compare what the process has versus what the target has. Step 5. Check port labels and Booleans. Verify the service port is mapped correctly. Verify relevant Booleans are set. Step 6. Apply permanent fixes. Use cmanage context plus restorecon for file labels. Use cmanage port for port labels. Use setable with persistent flag for Booleans. The golden rules for SREs. Always use permissive mode to learn during rollout. Fix labels first before writing custom policy. Codify every fix in automation. And never permanently solve problems by disabling SELinux. Namespaces and groups isolate resources, but they are not the full security story. Kernel-level mandatory access control still matters for containers. SELinux helps container security in 4 ways. First, it restricts what container processes can access on the host. Second, it isolates mounted host content using labels. Third, it uses multi-category security, or MCS, categories to separate containers from each other. Fourth, it reduces lateral damage from a container compromise. Think of MCS categories like colored wristbands at a festival. Even though everyone is a festival goer, the same broad type, your red wristband only lets you into the red stage area. Another container with a blue wristband cannot access your files. The most common container gotcha is host bind mounts with wrong labels. The host directory label must be compatible with the container domain. In Kubernetes, SELinux is represented through security context options in pod specifications. OpenShift takes this further with strong MCS integration. SELinux lives on the node, not inside Kubernetes. It is part of the node hardening boundary beneath pod security standards. SELinux must be part of your infrastructure as code. Many teams automate packages, configs, and firewall rules, but forget to automate SELinux labels, port mappings, Booleans, and policy modules. Then every rebuild reintroduces the same outage. Here is what you should automate. File context mappings for application content and data directories. Restorecon execution after every deployment. Port mappings for custom services. Boolean settings. local policy modules for custom applications, and validation smoke tests under enforcing mode. A good platform strategy publishes a labeling standard for application paths, a port standard, and a container volume standard. Teams that design with SELinux from the start find it predictable. SELinux belongs in layered defense alongside Linux capabilities, SEComp, namespaces, container hardening, and eBPF-based observability. Its strength is host-level object mediation and workload confinement. Let us recap the mental model. Every SELinux decision follows one pattern. A labeled subject performs a specific permission on a labeled object of a specific class. The kernel checks policy. If allowed, the action proceeds. If denied, it is blocked and logged. The key takeaways from this masterclass. SELinux adds mandatory access control on top of traditional Linux permissions. Type enforcement is the operational heart. Types on processes and objects drive all policy decisions. Labels are everything. Wrong labels cause most production issues. The fix workflow is always the same. Inspect AVC denials, fix labels or ports or Booleans, and codify an automation. Permissive mode is your safe testing ground before enforcing. Containers and Kubernetes benefit from SELinux through MCS category isolation, and automation prevents the same outage from recurring. SELinux is not what breaks your services. It is a kernel-enforced truth detector for whether your workload's actual runtime behavior matches a secure, policy-defined design. Master it, automate it, and it becomes one of the most valuable security controls in your production stack. Thank you for watching.